Welcome back. Welcome back. Here we are, Angry Badger Minis, and as you can see, I've got an entire desert of, my gosh, just parts. What I decided to do was go ahead and break out all of the bikes in the rest of the boxes so that I can consolidate the boxes for trash and throw them out. And I've sat here basically trimming most of this because I had some other things to do, phone calls and whatnot, and we are ready to start assembling. There'll still be some trimming that we have to do, but you know, it's not that big a deal. But what we have here is a total of 28 bikes and 4 attack bikes that need to be put together, and hopefully the new playlist you guys will enjoy. I can also I have music playing and headphones on, but I can't for some reason hook it up on OBS yet to where I can do the headphones through OBS to listen to what you're listening to. So I'm listening to it just through a different program, and that's really about it. So we're gonna get started on this kind of stuff. Stream health says excellent, and pretty happy about that. And let's get started here. Just for those of you that are new to this particular one or particular channel, what's going on here is I have, and you can see this in one of my the very first video, I believe, I have probably more models than the average person would ever acquire if they were sane. We're not going to claim sanity on this one. It's just been a process of years of doing this, and through life or whatever, I have not been able to actually get to my hobby like I wanted to, and now we are. So that being said, we're going to be putting these bikes together, and we are working on Ravenwing right now for Dark Angels, and that is the sole focus right now. Got ourselves a box over here. I'm probably going to add some stuff to the other bikes that we put together, and I'm trying to forget exactly how many I've put together so far, but we got quite a few. Let's see if I can get this in the shot. There you go. And then we got 2 attack bikes that are put together. But I have found some other little bits and pieces that I believe I want to go ahead and put onto the other bikes. So all that said, if you get on the channel, please do me a favor and say hi and enjoy the music. Yesterday we had some viewers on, and it was a fun time. They were modeling, I was modeling, we were talking, and it was a good time. So I'm gonna move some stuff out of the way over here so that I can consolidate what I need to do and start putting these bikes together. First thing we're going to do, like we did yesterday, is start putting wheels together. I'm not even sure why I grabbed the bodies, to be honest with you. And who knows how much glue we're really going to need. Poker chips, anybody? I'm not much of a comedian, so you're going to have to, deal with that nonsense. But I have another plan too for these wheels. I've got extra bikes or other bikes that are not part of the Ravenwing set, or the army rather, that I'm putting together. And my goal is to take a tire, if you will, put it on something like a roller, and then whenever I do the bases, before I put the bike on, I'll put down a layer of PVA or Mod Podge or something like that, base it first, and then roll the tire as if it's, a tread pattern. You don't really, I've never seen it, but I think that would be pretty cool. And then I can just make a small little, I can clear a small area where the tire is actually going to be so that it can actually adhere to the base itself. But I think it's going to be a really cool idea. It shouldn't take long to do, it just shouldn't, but it's going to be all about the the type of basing that I use. So I'm going to have to use something really thin, probably some kind of, I don't know, either sand, or because I really want to get that tread pattern in there, or it's going to have to be something like I don't know, maybe makeup powder or something like that, you know what I mean? But we'll see how it goes. We'll do some testing and all that whenever we get to that, but we're a long way off from that. So again, for those of you that are new to the channel, we're assembling pretty much all of my armies, and we're trying to do it as quickly as possible. My goal for this Ravenwing army is to be done by next Wednesday, but I got a feeling we're going to be done a lot sooner. I mean, this project is actually going a lot faster than I thought it was going to be. Of course, you know, it helps knowing how to put these things together and having a pattern. Whenever we get to painting, you know, of course, I'll have a little bit of extra cleanup to do. We've got barrels, we've got a drill, but that's not my focus right now. My focus is, you know, getting the models put together. They can be played with if we want to do that, you know, and then we go from there. Because for the last, my gosh, over a decade at least, at a minimum, I've had all these particular models just sitting in their boxes, you know, forever, hoping that one day I would get to it. Yesterday I had one of the viewers had said that I needed to tell the story of how all this kind of came to be. I don't know, I don't want to get on a negative tangent at all, but the long and short of it is, I was married before a long time ago, and I got in this hobby in '98. I was married at the time, and no kids with that person, thank goodness. And it just didn't work out well. And in the process of my learning how to hobby with, you know, 40K and whatnot, I've always been a very creative, you know, person, and an artist or artistic person. So naturally, I guess in a way, once I figured out what this was, I was really drawn to it. Well, that was a point of contention in, you know, in my marriage for many reasons, probably mainly because it took, you know, time away from my significant other, if you will. Although not as much time as you would think. It was just, I'll put it this way: when a person is jealous of the dogs, you playing with your dogs, you know, they've got some serious issues. So you can imagine what I was dealing with. I was also, you know, serving in the United States military, in the United States Marine Corps. I was in a pretty, we'll just say, prestigious position, and I'll leave it at that. Don't really like getting into that kind of stuff, but there was a lot on the line. My career, you know, the stress of what was going on with all that stuff, and so it just, you know, you try to make your compromises where you can, but you know, you can only compromise as much as the other person wants to. So getting out of the it ended up to the point where, you know, separated, divorced, that kind of thing. I actually had painted armies and stuff like that back then, but those were subsequently destroyed, and you know, some other things that happened to them, because you just, you know, people can be that way. And oop, that one came apart. But what ended up happening is, you know, we got divorced and all that, and moved on, and some other things happened around the world, so I wasn't around a lot, like a lot, and did everything I could, you know, to try to engage in the hobby as I could, but it, you know, it wasn't in the cards. You know, you gotta make a living, and of course, serving my country was my way of life, and it's all I ever really wanted to do. And excuse me, I then turned around and, what's going on here? Okay, sorry, I gotta move something on my screen out of the way. Anyway, started, you know, I continued to buy stuff because I'd see it in the store or on the web or something like that, and you know, always had this plan in my head that, you know, one day I'm gonna have all these, you know, one of every army at least, because you know, I do like the lore and the fiction. Mind you, for those of you that are new to 40K, some of the lore has changed drastically from what it was when I first came in the hobby. There were other folks, you know, that ended up working for Games Workshop, and others that went away, and changes were made for whatever reason. And you know, so what I could tell you is you know, what I know may or may not necessarily be canon these days. So anyway, continue to buy, you know, crack addict or plastic addict, whatever you want to call it. And eventually I met my current wife, who in my mind is the only wife I've ever had, because I refuse to really acknowledge the other one and just, you know, put her out of existence. She doesn't deserve it to be remembered. So but when we met, you're gonna love this. I was actually racing motocross a lot at the time, and went to a carpet store to get a bunch of carpet for my utility trailer for the walls, so I could turn it into basically a small mobile home, if you will, so I could save money from, you know, not having to get hotels and things like that as I traveled up and down the East Coast racing. And she happened to be my saleswoman. Both of us were trying to be professional and not ask one another out, but we really wanted to, and I took the plunge. And I want to say the rest is history, because we've been together now 7 years, married for 6. We have an adopted son, and we have a little one and another little one on the way, and life could never be better. And but I think we were together maybe a month before I took her from where she was in Florida to North Carolina, because that's where my house was. And you know, I brought her into my game room, if you will. We'll call it a game room. It wasn't anything like what you guys have seen in the videos before, if you've looked at them. But and I, you know, most of my stuff was, you know, hoarded away in an attic. But I showed her the hobby, told her this is my passion, and we had already discussed that neither one of us was going to change for each other. You know, you do the right thing by one another, and the other person should be free to live their life. You know, free of I mean, you're in my mind, you share your life with somebody to do just that, not to control them or to change them. And you know, if they want to change, let them do that on their own. And she's my best friend, and that agreement was made on the first date, believe it or not. But anyway, she saw this hobby, she saw how passionate I was in it, and she supports it. And when I say support it, I mean this statement alone means everything. I said to her when I started this project now, 2 weeks ago, I probably need to record the date on this. What's this, 26th? Okay, so 2 weeks from the 26th. Anyway, when I said to her, I said, you know, I wonder how I'm gonna feel, you know, if I ever get all this done. You know, I'm not gonna have any more models to put together. And I always joke with her. I don't know if you guys, I can't remember the name of the cartoon. It's a comic that was out a long time ago. Gosh, man, I wish I could remember it. But it was a miniature wargaming comic, and there was one particular one where they were asking where a guy was because he didn't show up for gaming like normally. And I think the guy, you know, one of the guys says basically, oh, he painted his last model that he owned and he died. You know, never paint your last model. And so I, you know, I always make that joke to her or whatever. And anyway, she was like, you know, well, I mean, if you get everything done, and this is the statement, we'll just buy more. If that doesn't tell you that she supports what I'm doing and wants to see me happy, I don't know what does. And if you can find someone like that in your life, don't ever let them go. You know, does this take time away from us? Sure it does, because this is boring for her. She plays the game with me, you know, sort of, you know, as much as she wants to, I guess. She can't stand Necrons. She absolutely hates them. Mainly because they get back up. And, you know, she's probably never going to be at the level that, you know, a lot of folks are. Hell, I'm probably not going to be at the level I used to be with all the random stuff. I mean, it's to the point now where I'd rather play a simpler, more narrative game than have to worry about command points and all this other kind of stuff half the time. But I'm interested in getting back, you know, really into it and learning it. Have the rules come a long way? Sure, but there's still a ton of rules that for my wife are probably, you know, it just kind of kills the game a little bit for her. And you know, so we pretty much stick to, you know, the basic stats charts, movement, and keep it small, you know, and do something like that. But you know, we have some RPG stuff that we do with a Space Hulk, which is another, you know, thing I'm looking forward to finally finishing again for the probably be 6th time I've rebuilt, and repainted it. It's just it's a neat board. I can't get into, you know, like I have Blackstone Fortress, for instance, and I have, you know, multiple copies of the Space Hulk game. I bought it mainly for the models, you know, but I mean, they're some of the best, you know, Terminator models you've ever seen. And the issue is for me that you know, the flat boards, you know, the board game style board, it just doesn't hold my interest. So I've got to have something 3-dimensional. I got to be immersed in the game, and you know, what I created out of rain gutter and stuff like that, it really does it for me. You know, even though right now it's not fully painted anymore, it's still very much a really cool, you know, board to play on. So I see that we have somebody here. Say hi. Let me know if the music's too loud or anything, or if it needs to go up. We got an actual little playlist now going on. I don't know, 3 or 4 songs or something like that, so they could preserve space. The last song on the playlist is actually my favorite. It's called High Hopes, which is fitting for what I'm doing here. I don't know if anybody's ever seen this many wheels at one time. Maybe at Warhammer World or something, putting together some kind of diorama or something. Let's see here. This wheel wants to play games. Hey, right on. Does everything sound okay? I think you meant to say you'll be right back. All right, cool. Feel free to engage. I'm just finding random stuff to talk about. But yeah, that's pretty much the story of how this project came to be, and I am in this to win it, so to speak. I am going to put everything together. That is the goal. Get rid of the boxes, get this stuff in the glass cases, and be able to play with all of it and have fun with it. And I'll struggle with painting along the way, because I know my brain, I'm going to be constantly second guessing. Hello. Constantly second guessing myself on my paint schemes. Like last night, I actually didn't go to bed till way late because I had this idea that with this Ravenwing army that's typically painted all black, what if I did something else, a different type of successor chapter to the Dark Angels or what have you? But I was trying to confirm lore-wise whether or not you know, if they were black, you know, black painted along with the Deathwing, which are bone colored, you know, throughout all of the successor chapters, like if it was a thing, because, you know, they're their own separate company. And from what I understand, it's only the actual Dark Angels chapter, not the successor chapters, that have those two companies like that. And I toiled over the, you know, reading and stuff last night till probably 3 or 4 in the morning. Shouldn't have done that, but I did. And couldn't come up to any answer. I've got all the codexes sitting here from all the way back to 3rd edition when I came in, and still couldn't find any information. And finally I came across something early today, early in the morning when I finally did get up, that, you know, pretty much confirmed my suspicion that it's only for the main chapter. And that being said, I then turned around and decided maybe I should stick with my original plan of them being, you know, painted black like the second company, and you know, and go with it, because there was one key element that I forgot about. I looked at this as its own singular army, which it, you know, can function as such, and I want to play it as such. But what I ended up doing was I forgot that I'm going to be building a Deathwing army and the rest of the Dark Angels, and that they will all be in the same case together. And so it won't be all black. You'll see, you know, black, green, and bone colored. So there will be some, you know, contrast or color differential. So one thing I'm careful about when I talk to people about 40K or, you know, getting involved in it is, you know, like Cameron here, I told him to call me before he bought anything. We all know that, or especially if you have been in this hobby for a while, it can get expensive. Cameron's right now going, no, don't say that. My wife's watching. But it's really about, you know, what you decide you want to play with and how far you want to go with it. I mean, it doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be an addiction, if you will, the way that I have, you know, apparently turned it into. But I enjoy it, and like I tell some people, I have something to show for, you know, the money spent. You know, I mean, a box of let's see, 5 Terminators, I think they cost, what are they, 50 or 60 bucks, I can't remember. Well, you could spend that, you know, the average male, for that matter, could spend that in a bar at night. You know, I don't drink or anything, so, but I'll war game. I want to be able to, you know, in a way get my money's worth. So I had to get some new glue here. Thankfully this tube is good to go. Some of these tubes I have, they're believe it or not, they're 3-4 years old, and some of them didn't quite survive the long sleep of hibernation. But we're moving right along here. One second. Something happened. Be right back. Hey. Well, that's life. But we're back. WH40K. I don't know. Was that my my lame radio broadcasting voice? So Cameron, the real question is your wife going, how can you sit there and do the same thing over and over? Or is she figuring out how to get involved in the hobby and then beat you in the games? Doesn't take a lot of glue. And there is a method to my madness of turning them upside down. It's basically so that it'll seat itself and dry as the glue drips on the inside to each part. Yeah, I'm really excited about getting this one done, man. This particular army has been a long time coming. I have not, in my career of doing this. Right, yeah, I remember that. Well, I'm telling you, she does Civil War reenactment. She sees how this works out. You may have a serious, you know, competitor on your hands. You never know. But what was I gonna say? What was I gonna say? Shoot. Well, it may seem like I'm going kind of fast. Oh no, that's what I was gonna say. I haven't seen, in my career of playing, I don't recall actually physically ever seeing an actual Ravenwing army. I mean, you see it, like, you know, in the books and stuff like that, but I mean, you know, let's be honest with ourselves, it's not exactly a cheap army to build. You know, it's just how it is. But okay, why does this one not want to work? Okay. And I will be right back again. Okay, we're back. Sorry for any camera shaking. We had some technical difficulties. When will I get to the space walls? That's kind of a good question. They're not in a case right now, so like I said, I'm trying to finish up, you know, basically the ones that are in that case. And I've got, let's see, after this we have the Deathwing And then there's Blood Angels and Black Templars. And then Tau, which I'm not really excited about that army. The Tau they just don't excite me. And I think I put this in the other video, or one of the other videos. I think I'm also still jaded from back in, I think it was 99 or 2000. I forget exactly when the codex came out, but you know, the first time the Tau came out, and the chapter approved rules that they would submit out in White Dwarf magazine. They asked people to submit rules for things they would like to see implemented into the game, and that was one I had wrote Forward Observer rules. I think I mentioned this to you, and they pretty much word for word. Well, I sent it to them. They sent me an email back saying, "Oh no, we can't use this. You know, it doesn't work in 40K." And then almost word for word in the Tau Codex when it came out. I forget if it was for marker lights or what the heck it was. There was my rules, and I just couldn't believe that essentially they stole it. You know, some people could say, "Oh, that didn't happen." Well, you know, be happy to put you on the phone with a witness. So, as a matter of fact, the way it worked out for those of you listening or watching this later is when I submitted it, a good friend of mine at the time, another veteran, he knew all about them because I had him help me play test them. And what ended up happening was he got his Tau Codex first, and he said, you know, "Hey man, you know, got my Codex, you know, have you gotten yours?" I said, "No." He goes, "Well, you know, have a seat." And, you know, so I did, and he was like, "Go to, you know, page whatever," and I think it was like in the 60s or something at the time. I don't remember really, this is so long ago. And sure enough, man, there was my rules. Couldn't believe it. And you know, I mean, what do? You know, they were in England, and it's not like I could turn around and sue them. But you know, I'm sure I'll get over it. The other thing is too, you know, the Tau don't have a very compelling color scheme to me, and that's something that I've got to work on. Do I not believe in the greater good? Pfft, look, you know, everything about the Tau, you know, well, I better not go into it. They're very progressive in nature, and that's as far as I'm going to leave it. So, no, I do not believe in the greater good. As a matter of fact, something that I learned from someone else, I think it was Luton, as a matter of fact, Luton09, who's somebody I watch quite a bit on YouTube, is that they believe that the Tau are not actually doing things of their own free will. That essentially the ethereals, and this must have been in books or something like that I've not seen or don't have, but that the Tau, the ethereals, basically have them under some kind of spell to do what they want them to do. And I mean, that's, you know, I could get along with that. And I get, oh, that's right, because Commander Shadow's son, I believe, is the one Tau, and I believe it's a female. I don't remember off the top of my head, but Commander Shadow's son, I think, figured this out or something like that, and is now exiled from the Tau or something. Again, I'm not really spun up on Tau lore. It's just not an army I'm really excited about. I mean, I'm sure I could, you know, but I'm trying to move from the mindset of when I play, I just don't care about winning anymore. I want to see a story play out. You know, I don't want to, I don't want it to be about, you know, winning. And it's, I had those days, and more often than not, they, I can honestly say that they made the game less fun for me. It was more of a headache, you know, looking through rules, where, you know, the few games that I played of 8th edition, it wasn't hard for me to, you know, just go, oh, okay, cool, you know, whatever. And then, you know, I didn't really care what the result was. It was just, I'm watching the battle play out on the field, and we'll see who wins, kind of thing. And I had actually more fun that way than I did, you know, any other way. So, all right. So just for simplicity's sake here, I've got a bike here that wants to play games with me. It does not want to seal. So, just, you know, you wouldn't think this is a hobby tool, but it is. Oops. So I'm just gonna crimp this bad boy together, or clamp it together, and let it, that way I don't have to sit there and hold it with my fingers and let it move and everything like that. So let that sit for a second. And remember, when you're putting these bikes together, you want to make sure that the fenders line up correctly. They tend to line up wrong for whatever reason. Not just, you know, right, left, front, and back, but vertically as well. So you got to kind of take a look at it, and don't get in the trap of just looking at the back. You really need to pay attention to what's going on. So you can't, well, my hands are in the way. Whenever I get a better camera set up and it's looking down on what I'm doing, you'll understand. But essentially, I'm trying to, let me see if I can, all right, this one seems to be gluing right here. So if we look at this, I want to make sure that this is flush across the top, which it's not now. Okay, now it is. And I want to make sure that it's flush here in the front, not one side sticking out over the other. Now it looks like it's not, but that's because the mold line, you know, is right here. So, but it is actually flush. I mean, my pencil's going across it nice and even. And then in the back here, you're always gonna, I mean, I got an eye for this stuff. It's just, you know, what it is. But in the back here, you've got to do the same thing. But if you take a look at, let's see if I can point this out to you and contrast it somewhere. Yeah. Okay, so you see this little flange that's extra right here versus there's nothing over here? There's nothing you can do about that short of cutting it off. But if you cut it off, what it does is, I don't know why, but it draws your eye right to it. It's crazy. So I just typically leave it, and then I'm going to be putting, since we have enough, I think we have enough, I'm going to be putting all of these little backpack tank thing or ammo can things on the backs of them, like I did for the attack bikes. I mean, I may not get them all covered, but we'll see. The only issue with doing everything like I'm doing it right now is lack of space. But as we clean up the models and get them put together, we fix that problem. And right now, we're essentially doing 3 at a time. And like I talked about yesterday, hold back here, you know, on the rear of the bike, and then do your gluing that way. That way you keep minimal glue from getting on your hands. Then set it down, put a little dab on there, get your wheel on, then use that wheel to support yourself. Line your stuff up here, hold it for a little bit. So what are you working on exactly with your Primaris? Like, which ones? All right. This should be good to go. So release that, pull that bike out. Not quite. Oh, looks like we got 2 going on here. guess it's not done yet. You'll have that. For some reason this one wants to play games with me. So I'm gonna have to hold this one actually. I normally have this problem. I'm gonna have to do the same on this one. And you have to squeeze together in the right manner, because if you don't, you risk pulling the plastic down or raising it up on either side. Eradicators and then next spikes. Okay, right on. Boy, this bike's just dumb. We have a dog staying with us that is relatively good at letting you know when he needs to go out. So I think that's what we're hearing. And I've got so much glue going on here at the moment that I got some excess stuff going on my model here that I don't want, so I've got to clean that up. Came off of my fingers, as a matter of fact. It may even be skin. Who knows? It's probably just old glue. All right. Back over here, so it's out of my way. What I'm also doing is I'm doing a test run of how I'd like my new setup to be downstairs whenever I get around to it, both in modeling tools where I want them, as well as you know, camera, mic, all that kind of stuff. Because eventually I'm going to want to go down there just so I'm not bothering my family with my streams or whatever. And right about now, about 8 o'clock is when my little man goes to sleep, so I'll probably be doing most of my streams about this time. Maybe try to get some other videos in before then. But I definitely want to try to do at least one thing a day. Okay. Oops. Moving right along here. What we got? 6. Planning on some gameplay videos anytime soon. Do you mean like 40K, like the board, like on the tabletop, or are you talking about excuse me, video games? I mean, I'd like to do. I mean, I don't have. I mean, I can use my Salamander's army. Yeah, I mean, and you know, or some Necrons, or whatever. Those are painted. You know, so if you're game, I'm game. We could live stream that, or you know, video it, however you want to do it. I don't know that my computer is strong enough right now to run the video games along with, you know, all of this. But I mean, I've got, you know, a laptop that I could probably do it with, but it's I can't really. Well, that's wrong. I can plug in a computer or a keyboard to it. What was I thinking? But it's, you know, just one more thing. And like I said, eventually I want to move this whole YouTube studio downstairs in some way. I'm a little limited on space at the moment. But yeah, I've got painted models. I just don't have quote painted terrain. Not anything of real note, I'll put it that way. I have plenty of terrain, it's just not painted. I mean, some old stuff that's painted, but I mean, it's not painted, it's just, you know. And I'd really like to get back into that Space Hulk game. I mean, those were fun games. And you're using very basic rules, you know. Yeah, I mean, for sure. That's one thing I have noticed that when I've watched online is a lot of the how to play 40K games. It's not that they do a bad job. It's that I think that they go a little too fast for the beginner and they use way too many rules all at once, you know, before anybody really knows what's going on. That's just my take, but I think they also just continue on because they figure you're gonna pause and rewind it anyway, or whatever, and it's not a big deal. But you know, what's gonna hold folks' interest, of course, is gonna be a nice game table and stuff like that. And I'm just not there yet. But I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, I'll definitely put that out there. Of course, somebody's gonna be like, "You need to get back to putting models together." You're wasting time. And they would be right. But you gotta have a break sometimes, I guess. Yeah, I'd like Andrew had actually asked me about that today, if I was, when we would start, and I said whenever you want to. So I guess he kind of wants to learn. So that would be good. If anything, get like you and he playing together, and then I can just, rules lawyer, if you will, and then make sure that everybody knows what they're doing that way. And then we've got, it's opened up so that we can, somebody can video while the other two play, kind of thing, And I mean, they don't have to be, huge games or anything. Matter of fact, I could probably just find some of that old terrain, give it a quick paint job, spray paint and dry brush, and then you'll have painted terrain to play on or with. I ever get my Sisters of Battle painted. If your wife was into that, she could play them. Yeah, that's how I feel too. And I mean, honestly, I've been out of it so long, I feel like that's what I need to do. I want to make my own game that really doesn't have, it's just a lot simpler, to play. You can pick it up, you don't have a ton of rules. It's just, maybe you'll have a little bit of, what am I trying to call it? Maybe armies will have their own little special thing, but nothing crazy, you could. But I want it where you could pretty much play with any models you ever wanted to, So even if you didn't have Games Workshop models, you could still play with the system. Get that published and get it out there. Yeah, well, like I've told you, that's a game I really would like to do sometime, but I think I really want to do it in the 40K universe. But again, options are limited on whoever wants to play. Deathwatch, like I said, I've never actually played a game of Deathwatch with anyone, really. I definitely can what? Oh man. I mean, that's essentially, you know, what, like I said, what Deathwatch is, or the way that I play Space Hulk. I think if I stream tomorrow, it's gonna be yeah. If you pull up Games Workshop, you can show her what, I mean, I don't have the new sisters, I have the old ones, but, and then I have my converted ones, but you can show her what they look like. I believe that they won. There's a list out there, an army list, that they won Las Vegas, the Las Vegas tournament. I have to start putting a little more glue on these. Seem to be separating here. Got a couple here that the doesn't want to seal up. To this. All right. Let's keep it rolling. Outstanding. All right. The new Sisters models are actually really nice, but they're bigger than the old ones. So they don't, they don't really match up well. They're also very mono-posed as a single miniature model. I'll move these wheels out of the way. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Trying to make room here for workspace. Come on. Okay. Coming to the end of the road for this stuff. But then it's going to get real tedious once they get these put together, because the next step's putting those little icons on, and they're a pain. What's your take on Finecast, and is 3D printers a good viable option for under $250 for Warhammer minis? So I'm not the expert on 3D printers. It's something I definitely want to get into. A guy that's making some stuff for me, he would be the one to talk to. As far as Finecast, if they made a Master of the Ravenwing, Samuel Master of the Ravenwing model, I would not. I mean, out of plastic, I would get that. Finecast, I think it's a pain in the butt. I think it's hard enough to paint, and it's very soft material. I don't know if you can see the bend, the slight bend in that sword. I have to be careful or I'll break it, if that tells you anything. So I wouldn't do it. I think it was one of the dumbest things that GW ever did. And they don't do Finecast anymore, so if you're planning on buying something that's Finecast, it's older. I wouldn't do it. I am having a time tonight with these back ends not wanting to seal like they should. Seems like they're all wanting to come apart. I don't know if it's the glue or what's going on here, but you mean the pewter models? No, they don't. That's what the old sisters are made out of. But you can get all of this old stuff, on eBay for certain. Just, whether or not you want to, understand they're not going to have as much detail. They're going to be an older looking model. It's just how it is. They're not going to look as good. trying to think of something to say. My brain is too busy thinking about stuff on what I'm doing here and why this glue isn't necessarily working. Well, the difference is, essentially the Primaris just came out not too long ago, I don't know, a year or two ago, and according to the fiction, alright, so let me back up. You have the Primarchs, there were 20 of them, 2 are lost and are not spoken of, for whatever reason. I mean, they were all lost at one point, but 2 weren't found or whatever. But anyway, Rabuti Gilliman, or Gilman, however you want to say his name, he was mortally wounded by his brother Primarch Mortarion and was in stasis for, you know, thousands of years, I think. And he was essentially repaired and came out of it, and there's this, I don't know if how much you know about this stuff, but there's this tech priest guy called Bellius Call, if I said that right, and he started on a project which was creating a bigger, supposedly, you know, tougher Space Marine. So basically they're like, you know, Space Marine 2.0, if that makes sense. So that's pretty much the only you know, differential or differing deal. You know, they're bigger, they're more heroic scale, because people have been trying to make, you know, true scale Space Marines forever. You know, Space Marine's supposed to be anywhere, you know, somewhere around 7 to 8 foot tall in his armor, or I'm sorry, before his armor, I guess. I don't know, there's conflicting reports on that, because I actually have a book, it's a Death Watch Space Marine book, where one of the Space Marines in there is 4 foot, so if that tells you anything. I think he's 4 foot. He's definitely shorter, and I don't know. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but you know, like I said, what used to be canon is no longer canon, and you know, supposedly the Primaris are, you know, initially I thought I was led to believe that they were supposed to be incorruptible, meaning that they wouldn't have the Horus Heresy ever again. You know, they wouldn't have the gene flaws that they're, you know, the different chapters Primarchs have, you know, if they have one, like the Blood Angels with the Black Rage and Space Wolves What do they have? Something to do with aggression. But you know, that's pretty much it. You know, but as far as the actual well, and to be honest with you, we're calling them firstborns, but they really aren't. There was another set of Space Marines, if you will. They were called the Thunder Warriors, and the Emperor, if you will, actually, once he had used them, they were basically, I believe, criminals and gang members and things like that he genetically enhanced so that he could use them, you know, to bring Earth and everything under his submission. And after that happened, basically he had them killed. And then, you know, he started with, well, I can't remember if he had already started with his new Space Marines or not, but, you know, either way, they didn't survive. So, or I take that back. I think I read somewhere there might have been a few Thunder Warriors that have survived, and they're, you know, at this point thousands of years old. So you know, take that for whatever, you know, it's worth. All right, so here we are. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more to put together, and then all of the bike bodies are put together. And then we get to do the tedious task of putting the Dark Angels icons on the front fenders on both sides, and get glue all over our fingers, because that's just how we roll. I forget when it was, but GW hired this guy called Matt Ward, or named Matt Ward, and this dude like rewrote the Necrons and all this other stuff, and it really screwed things up. And you know, for those of us that have been around in the hobby for a long time, and I think even the rules balances, you know, or rules balance was way off. That's a good question. How will the Emperor return? I don't know. There's thoughts that he's supposed to, or that they're supposed to let him die on the throne, and then that would bring him back. Maybe he only comes back in humanity's most dire straits, kind of like the Legion of the Damned Space Marines. I think the rumor is they are derived from the Lost Firehawks chapter that made a warp jump and never came back, or never came out of it. And whenever Space Marines or Imperial forces are, you know, in their darkest hour, the Legion of the Damned shows up, and then they, you know, leave pretty much just as quickly as they, or maybe not what I mean to say as quickly, just as mysteriously as they showed up. They seem to be relatively indestructible. In the fiction, they seem to be indestructible. In game terms, they're not. But any Space Marine army can have them as an option. I think they count as an elite's choice. Again, I haven't played in so long, But I'm definitely looking forward to it. My thing is, I just don't like playing with, excuse me, whack players, WAAC, win at all costs. It's just not, it's not my thing. But I'm definitely looking forward to playing with this army a little bit. I wanna see how some strategies that I've always dreamed of with these guys, how they might play out. If there's anything I disliked about 40K, it was the limited number of turns if you played the missions. Most of the gaming group I belonged to so long ago, we never did that unless we were having a big ass tournament, because then you had to worry about time. But that's not what we were. What the heck? That's a problem. I've been doing my count over here of wheels. And as I'm going through them, and maybe, I don't know, maybe we just have an extra wheel. That's weird. I gotta remember that 4 of these bikes are part of the attack bike. Not that, So for a second there, I thought I was missing wheels when I actually appear to have an extra. These clamps sure do come in handy, that's for sure. Well, I think what I'm going to do, instead of taking the time to put those little things on, is I'm going to go ahead and assemble the body pieces with the backpacks, so that way I get those lined up, and that takes 2 of my piles away versus 1. We'll work on the big stuff. So let's separate this stuff real quick into 2 two little piles. We have our backs and our chests. At least enough to get started anyway. All right, let's get going here. I'm actually wearing my headphones backwards because where the desktop is, the cord needs more length. What I need to do is get some headphones that the computer actually registers as headphones. It doesn't with this other than to let me hear through them. And that's part of the reason that I can't connect to OBS through them. There's another bike army I want, and it's the White Scars. Think of them like Attila the Hun kind of stuff. But is there such a thing as good guys in 40K? That is the ultimate question. So I guess it really boils down to, you know, what side or what army or faction in the universe you want to win. You know, I mean, the Space Marines and, you know, the High Lords of Terra and, you know, all these people, you know, they think they're doing right, but what they have done to the Emperor's dream, supposedly, they have made it into a very bad. They've ruined it, really, is what it is. There's really nothing. It's not about prosperity. It's not even about, you know, your wants in life. It's about, you know, being in your place, you know, kind of like socialism or communism. And You know, I don't know if you read, I don't know what it says in the book there, but it's, you know, I think it says something along the lines of it's to live in, you know, times, you know, of untold billions, and, you know, whatever happens, you'll not be missed. So, I mean, there really isn't supposed to be any, you know, happy endings, if you will. It's just a means to an end. And I actually came up with today, if I can figure out how I said it to myself, I came up with a really good way, I think, for a person to accept, you know, those tryhards, if you will, that if they lose or whatever, you know, and they just can't stand the thought of defeat, a good way that maybe they could deal with the defeat in the game. Meaning, if they chalk the loss up to the fact that they didn't actually lose the war, that they, you know, that battle was merely a diversion, or, you know, basically a delay tactic, then, you know, to a greater, you know, or bigger picture, maybe that'll ease the pain. I don't know. But, you know, or if you just had a guy, you know, again, win at all costs guy that you just couldn't stand, you know, and he beat you, you could say, oh, well, you know, great job, man. Good game. You know, oh, well, I beat you. Well, no, not really. I just denied your ability for the greater war. But I want to, you know, I want to do campaign type stuff, you know, with 40K, you know, where units can get experience points and stuff like that, you know, bonuses to their shooting or whatever. I've actually never been able to do that with anyone. One second, I gotta grab some glue. I don't know if telling him the Emperor willed it. You know, the Emperor willed him to die. Although I did hear something today that I never knew, and it kind of soured my taste for wanting to have an Imperial Fist army. Other, you know, never mind the fact that painting yellow is going to be a chore. Apparently during the Horus Heresy, or shortly thereafter, Rogel Dorn, the Primarch of the Imperial Fist, did not like what Robuti Gilliman was going to do with separating the legions into chapters, because the legions were 10,000 strong, and he wanted to divide them up into, you know, 1,000 man strong chapters. And there was almost another civil war between the Imperial Fists and the Ultramarines. And what he ended up doing with the Marines that he had that were too they were too fanatical about the whole thing, and he knew they'd never, you know, change from that, is he set them up to go against, I think it was the Iron Warriors, who's like the nemesis of the Imperial Fists. But he set them up in such a way that he knew that they were going to die. So he essentially, in my mind, sent his own guys to die on purpose. And I mean, that's exactly what he did. But I mean, you know, in my mind, it's failure of leadership. So now I'm like, I don't know if I want to deal with the Imperial Fists. I probably could have gone the rest of my life without knowing that tidbit of information. So naturally, there's a guy out there on YouTube's name. He calls himself Chapter Master Valark or Valrak or something. I immediately went to his channel because he's a huge Imperial Fist fan. And in the chat, he totally bypassed it. Like, he knew, he didn't even acknowledge the chat. He read the chat or the sentence, before mine and then after mine, where I said Rogel Dorn's a traitor. He killed his own Space Marines, and he totally skipped over that. So he definitely didn't want to hear that. But it was all in good fun. Let's see here. We're getting there. I'll tell you another thing I wanted to build was I wanted to have like games where like maybe I'd have to figure out how you paint them, or I would have to get like Space Marines that were clear in color, I guess, but I'm not sure that would give the right look. But you know, like say it was a training battle, you know, and you had Space Marines that were painted, you know, like holograms, or even, you know, other factions, you know, orcs and all that kind of stuff, that they were like holograms. But the more I think about that, I don't think it works out, because when I read the fiction, that kind of technology doesn't, I mean, it exists, but it doesn't exist on that kind of scale. And what they typically do is they don't fight holograms, they fight one another inside the ships, you know, doing training. Or like the Death Watch Marines, you know, they'll, you know, especially if they're, you know, the Xeno, you know, they're going after aliens, Xenos, they have captured Xenos, you know, that they'll fight. So it's probably not lore friendly, but I thought it would be kind of neat to have a small army painted like that. But it could be relatively, it might be a pretty boring army to look at, maybe, I don't know. When I get done putting these bodies together, I'm gonna go grab a drink. I think the problem with the hobby right now is too many people are too scared to lose a game for whatever reason, and there's nothing, you know, you can do about it. I was reading today where guys were saying they wouldn't play against certain lists. Well, in my mind, that's kind of stupid, and the reason I say it is if you're so worried about winning, then you're not playing the game. I mean, unless you're in a, you know, an actual tournament, you're not playing the game, you know, for the game. You're playing it literally just to win. And what if all that guy has, you know, that he bought because it's what he could afford and it's the models he wanted to paint and play with, you know, were Imperial Knights, for instance, and that's all he has, and all you have is something that maybe can't kill him, you know? So you're sitting here going, oh, I don't want to play against that because I can't kill him. Well, there's other ways to win, and that's how the game is made, is, you know, where you don't have to kill off the whole army if you play it, you know, the way the game is played. I mean, unless you're playing Annihilation, you know, and then, you know, just don't agree not to play that battle. You know, play something where you have to capture objectives, or you have to, you know, something that leans itself more towards, you know, victory points, you know, earning those victory points versus, you know, having to kill everything. But, you know, apparently it's beyond me. I don't know what I'm talking about, so. Alright, what just happened here? We are missing something. I see it. Okay. So, yeah, they're over here. That's where I put them. Right. Well, wait a minute. Either I put it together and it's down here, or I did not clip it off. Oh, there it is. Alright, cool. So I did put it together. The attack bike guy that's in the, you know, the sidecar, so to speak, he's got a different backing, and he doesn't take a backpack because he basically wires himself into the seat, kind of like the land speeder does. So that's what I was looking for. So how many, or what do you, is that all you have left, is the Eradicators and then the bikes, or what? I have so many backs and chest pieces to put together from Space Marines. It's gonna be crazy. Let's put those over there. Let's get these backpacks over here and get them lined up. Outstanding. Couple other bikes to add to the mix. And let's see, if we take 4 of these bikes out for the attack bikes, that's right, 24. No, wait, what? Hold on, let me think about that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 24. Well, I guess I had that wrong. For some reason, I thought I had 28. Oh well. So essentially, so let's see, 24 bikes and then the whole Necron army. But I mean, once you get, you know, you've already got your Space Marines put together, so you have a small army you can play with if you wanted to, is what I'm getting at. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. And because I'm tired, let's see, 27 plus 24, 51 bikes and 4 sorry, 6 attack bikes, right? Yeah. But that's not including the command squad. See, I got these guys right here. You got basically a captain, apothecary, or maybe that's a standard bearer, captain and apothecary. They can be whatever you want them to be, though. You can, you know, make them something else, I guess, but why wouldn't you have that awesome flag flying? And unfortunately, the apothecary model is no longer in play, I guess. It says it also makes Ravenwing Black Knights. I don't even know what that is. Oh, I see what it is now. They've got a couple of them got plasma rifles on the front. Looks like dual plasma rifles. And I'm not sure what that gun is. Yeah, I have no idea what that gun is. But they must be some kind of like a heavy support choice in a way, even though they're probably an elite choice. But who knows, maybe I can, well, I mean, the command squad's got, looks like they got plasma rifles, all of them. So, I mean, that could be a thing. Alright, but anyway, what I was saying was I got 51 bikes and 6 attack bikes. 51, 52, 53, 54. So technically 54 bikes in this army, 6 attack bikes, and then 6 land speeders from 6 land speeders from this set, but I do have other land speeders if I really needed to put them in here, but I'm not sure that's something I have to do, not for the tactics that I want to employ. I got a pretty decent plan in my head of what I'd like to do. It involves a lot of movement though, like moving the guys around a lot. And I mean, why wouldn't you? They're motorcycles. Oh, did I tell you that I want to make well, I already did it once. I just want to make a real nice board for it. That I made a dirt bike racing game, or a motorcycle racing game with, you know, this. I have one orc bike and then the Space Marine bikes. Basically, it'd be like a death race, you know, like, you know, you move around and, you know, you play with the basic movement rules and all that stuff, and shooting and all that stuff. But you'd have to stay, you know, well, I don't know. I'm trying to remember how we did it before. I don't think we did stay in our lane, because that wouldn't make any sense, because then you couldn't cut anybody off. But we did have jumps and everything else. It was actually pretty fun. It was actually rather exciting, to be honest with you. Yeah, I don't even know. I haven't done a full count of exactly how many Space Marines I've inventoried that I have over all the armies. It's gotta be... Yeah, exactly. So you die or finish the race. Exactly. But actually, I think what we did was... I'm trying to remember how that worked. I think we gave each other wounds, like a certain amount of wounds, so you couldn't just die like right off the bat. I mean, that would be stupid, because if, you know, let's just say you were an orc. I mean, you're gonna play with your normal stats. So if you were, you know, an orc, for instance, well, I mean, I guess you don't have to. Everybody can play with the same stats. But I mean, you know, if you get shot right off the bat, I mean, you never make it around the track. It's kind of like, you know, what's the point, right? But I thought that the way we did it was if you lost your save, you lost your next turn. your next movement turn. That's what it was. Yeah. So that, you know, kind of like you got knocked over, you fell over, or something like that. I don't think anybody actually died. Now that I remember that, I don't think we were playing that way. But it's definitely something I want to redo because it was a lot of fun. I do remember that. And it was, you know, it was fast paced, you know, just roll the dice, measure, roll the dice and move, you know. You got one model, it's easy. And the orcs, so the orcs have, that's something that, like, they have these cars now or something, you know, that they're using. I don't want the model for the game like 40K, but I would like to have it as like a racing game, you know, or like for a racing game, like a hot rod, you know. So I may buy some of those at some point, but not before I get through with all this stuff. I am on this, and I am committed. And one way or the other, I'm committed. I'm either committed to doing this, or I'll be committed to a, you know, a friggin' institution. Insane asylum. And I'm not sure if it'll be some kind of record too, you know. I mean, I kind of am chronologically, you know, recording this, or, you know, whatever. And I mean, I guess somebody could challenge and say, oh, how do we know, you know, you didn't have other people, you know, helping you, you know, when you weren't on camera. I don't know. But it'd be kind of neat, you know, to be that guy, you know, that had a warehouse full of shame and in one go put all his armies together and non-stop painted them. Kind of like it'd be my own part of 40K lore. You remember that guy? That guy was stupid and crazy at the same time. He had a shit ton of models. Yeah, he died with a paintbrush in his mouth. And glue up his left nostril. And I mean, live shows like this, you know, I mean, here we are, what, almost 2 hours. I don't expect anybody to watch this long, but that's okay, you know. Some of the, not podcasts, but vlogs or whatever, the live shows I watched, I mean, they go 2-3 hours. And you know, just talking about random stuff. They get quite a few views. I don't know how long people stay on it, but you know, I guess the question is, does it really matter? And I want to get the Sector Imperialis game, or not, what am I saying? Sector Imperialis, Aeronauticus game. It's all, you know, aircraft, but it's small. You know, like the planes are real small and everything. I think it comes with Imperial Guard craft and Orc craft, and it's all about, you know, dogfighting, really. So but I'm pretty sure, man, I'm gonna be done with this army probably before or by Monday. I'm thinking. I mean, putting it together. That's what I'm thinking. Of course, tomorrow night's gonna kind of get into my time some, but that's just how it goes. said I was gonna get something to drink after I put those bodies together. Let me see how far that went. He died at the table. Dehydration, starvation. He never made it. But those Space Marines were put together. With his last breath, he said, "Don't sell them on eBay." I was gonna go get glue today, but didn't have time. And then the snow came in. Well, something's not right here, because I've got 5 of these guys. That's weird. No, not at all. Just you know, obviously make sure none of the pieces end up in their mouth, and I would just not play with the I would just make everything the same, you know, like you know, don't worry about ballistic skill and all that kind of stuff or whatever it says on the data sheet. Just, you know, say, okay, you know, you need, you know, 3 to hit on your dice, 3 or better, you know, and then they'll get it, 3, 4, 5, or 6, you know, they need to hit, and then, you know, you could keep it the same. So it's just 3. I need 3 or better every time to hit, to wound, and to save. You know what I mean? It could make for some faster games. Go back to how the Space Marines or whatever it is, you know, whatever it is that you're doing, just have 1 wound, you know, instead of 2, so you're not having to keep track of wounds, and you know, and go from there. And I think you'll be good to go. As far as measuring, something you could do instead of having a tape measure is you could get some cardboard or, you know, a ruler, 6-inch ruler or something like that if you wanted to start teaching them that way, and just, you know, have a measure from the front of the base to the front of the base where they want to go, and you know, I think it'd be real simple, honestly. And then maybe do like yeah, as a matter of fact, do like a little objective. Hey, get your guys here, you know, and you know, of course, you know, play light with them, you know, give them, you know, You know, you could have a worse way of shooting, you know what I mean, or worse shooting, where maybe you need 5s to hit and 5s to wound. That way you don't kill him outright, you know. I think that would work. I'll be right back. Gonna grab something to drink. And we're back. I mean, in a way, that's kind of what I do, you know, with my wife and them, because, you know, she's not paying attention necessarily right now to what the, you know, the data sheet says or anything like that. You know, she just goes, okay, well, what do I need? And I tell her, and then she just rolls the dice, and then she knows, you know, she's good to go. Sponsored by Great Value Drinking Water. Alright, bikes have been drying, bodies are done. So that eliminated a big portion of my piles. And now I'm about to eliminate another big pile by putting all these bottoms, the mufflers and stuff on the bikes. Right on, right on. I'm sure your wife is not still watching, right? Uh-oh. What's going on here? Oh no. I guess we forgot this step. We forgot to trim the bottoms. Alright, we're gonna have to pay attention to that. We're gonna have to go through here and trim and then glue. Lion King. Hakuna Matata. Zitty bitty. If you can hear that, that's them screeching into a halt, hitting the brakes. Putting the bikes upside down, so again the glue and the weight of the plastic mesh myself back in the camera here. I just realized my hands are doing all this off camera, so I apologize. Right now, if Games Workshop is spying on me or watching this live stream, which they're not, but if they were, they're like, look, we got all that guy's money. Oops. Huh. Roger. What I'm doing right now is filing this down the bottom here, the base rather, so that way it's nice and flat. I say filing, I'm cutting it off with the razor blade so that we can fit these mufflers on here nice and good, nice and solid, and the floor plate. And then we're turning them upside down again, like I said, to make sure that everything adheres to itself. Got to make sure when you put those mufflers on, if you were hearing that clicking, you slide them back, or you're going to have a gap that you don't want. also may have to do what I just did here. Tilt the floor plate and stuff. If it's not lining up correctly, sometimes you'll have that. Just want to make sure you double check they didn't glue wrong. Wish I had like a little, tiny little vacuum thing, you know? That would be kind of cool. Little nozzler. I nozzled you, bro. Night at the Roxbury, for anybody who doesn't know. You totally got me. Yeah, I'm thinking what I'm gonna do with all the rest of the bikes that I have is I'm gonna sort it out and see if I don't know if the white scars have an all bike army or not. I mean, I could call them white scars and play with Ravenwing rules, I guess. I'm not sure. Coming along nicely. Coming along nicely. Are you back? Ooh. So I was gonna tell you, I'm probably gonna wait on the space wolves, not just because I just had this thought, not just because of the case, but the space wolves army. There's stuff in there I've never put together before, so I know it's gonna take me a little longer. Whereas as soon as I'm done with this, if I go and cut apart the Deathwing Terminators and the Dark Angel Space Marines and all these boxes, one, most of them are snap fit, so that'll be relatively easy to do, and two, I already know how to put that stuff together, so it'll keep me going, you know, faster. So I can do that with all the stuff that I already know how to do. Now, the space wolves themselves won't necessarily be the issue. It'll be the, I forget what the ship is called, Stormfang or something, I don't know, Talon, something or other. I don't know, it's a Space Wolves exclusive ship. I think it's a transport. Almost looks like a landing craft, but it flies, like from World War II kind of thing. I forget what it's called, but I have one. Stormfang gunship, that's it. And I don't know how to put that together. And like I said, I'm doing this basically on autopilot right now. I'm not really thinking about what I'm doing. I'm just, you know, I'm thinking about other stuff, and this is literally muscle memory, putting these bikes together and putting Marines together. And, you know, also, I've only put together 2 drop pods in my entire time, and I got a feeling when it comes time for that, we're gonna live up to our name, Angry Badger, because I remember how frustrating it was, and that's one thing some guys were teasing me about, you know, on the Orcs thing, and some other places are like, how many drop pods you have? I told them, I was like, man, I'm glad I only had to put together 1. So, you know, that's gonna be, it's just you know, and who knows, maybe I'll be wrong and I'll develop a methodology for it and it'll go together just fine. But I remember the 2 that I've put together, how much trouble I had, especially like the interior and the doors, because I want the doors to be able to open and close, and what was I gonna say, I want to find a way to magnetize it so that the doors will magnetize shut. You know what I mean? Just about anything that says 40K. I mean, so pretty much just type in Warhammer 40K and it'll probably come up Orcs, Space Marines, you know, whatever. And I'm part of them. They'll ask you, some of them will ask you questions, you know, to verify you're not a bot or whatever, but I'm part of them because, you know, you get ideas, you know, and anytime somebody posts something, you know, pops up. I mean, it's pretty interesting what some of these folks do. So, and there's some talent out there, you know, obviously. Oops. Dark Angels is one of them, as a matter of fact. Missing a muffler. What the heck? No, it's not over there. We had an accident earlier. I wonder if I launched it somewhere. Hold on. Check here. It's a big reason why I don't get carried away with throwing the sprues away. Especially when you're doing batch jobs like this, you might actually have forgotten to clip things off. I do not see it on there. No. There it is on the floor. Another heretic trying to escape. All right, all of those good to go. And like I said, 4 of these go over to the bike parts with for the attack bike. I'm sorry, not with. So we're gonna give them a second to dry. And we're gonna decide what we're doing here, because we really need to get these icons on there. But what I want to do is I want to be able to make the most of my piles here and get rid of them. So I think what we're going to do is, now that we've got these bodies together, this should be relatively simple. We're going to line them up and we're going to dot them with some glue, and we're going to put heads on them, but the heads are going to be turned, you know, different ways. And the reason I say it'll be relatively simple is because it's not like, you know, I've got to worry about a bolter or a gun in his hand. All of these guys, you know, are going to have both hands on the steering wheel. You know, their bodies are basically going to be, you know, forward, so I don't have to worry about that. It's just literally turning the head in a different pose for a pseudo dynamic pose, and then they will be done, and that will get rid of one more pile of stuff. And then let's see, what else can we do? Then we could throw the legs on. That'll get rid of that pile. We can throw the handlebars on. That'll get rid of that pile. Throw the arms on, that pile. The shoulder blades. No, we can't throw the arms on until we put the body on. That's right. So, yeah, okay. I got it. So we'll do heads, legs, handlebars, bodies, arms, shoulder pads. Then we will go to the icons before we try to put on the fairings and the guns, because if we do that, we will not be able to get, you know, we will not be able to get it to, we won't get it in there like we want to. It's going to be a pain trying to get around the fairing. So, alright, so the first thing is heads. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little drop in each one. At least for a few of them, or maybe one row. And then my methodology here is straight head up, straight head down, like he's leaning, you know, over more. Head to the right. Head to the left. The older bikes, which I have, the bodies are not like this where they're apart. They're all one piece, and it shows. I mean, it definitely doesn't have the detail that these do. I will need to go back, okay, straight up again. I will need to go back and trim the tops of the heads, but that's okay. Straight down. All right, brother, I hear you. I'll probably go ahead and close this at some point, but Take care. Appreciate it. Spread the word. And to the right. Just remember, the Emperor despises the weak. Just kidding. Later, man. All right, that row's done. Dab of glue. Right. To the left. That's too much to the left. Damn head spun around. Thought he was friggin' needed an exorcist. The Exorcist Space Marines would have no problem probably killing him. Straight up. Oh, if we can. Straight down. And when I say straight down, it's like, you know, he's looking through the top of his visor, you know, or top of, you know, his eyelids, whatever you want to call them. To the right. Just stretch a little bit. To the left. Straight up. Like maybe he's looking over top of another rider's helmets. You never know. And I know that because I ride motorcycles. Straight down. Maybe he's looking at his speedometer and going, we're not going fast enough. I gotta go faster. Oh wait, I'm a Space Marine, not an orc. To the left. I'm sorry, to the right. To the right, to the right, to the left, to the left. To the left. And now we're on our last row. Last row. Get some drops in there. Straight up. Straight down. to the right, to the left, and happy coincidence, our last 4 will net us the exact same essentially, you know, random iteration. So straight up, straight down, right, and left. And that's it, folks. That's it for the heads. Now we've got 4 other heads, but they go to the attack bike, the goon and the sidecar. Put that over there, and that should have given the bikes actually time to dry, the floor plates anyway. So in the meantime, we're gonna go ahead and take those, and I'm just gonna go ahead and put them in this box over here that you can't see to get them out of the way for me, so I can put glue legs on and then put them right back where they go, so that we reacquire our space back. Boy, this is a lot of bikes, isn't it? The way I'm grabbing them right now is probably the way I'd do this if this was like some kind of crazy apocalypse game with Titans. Would probably blow them all to hell, but who knows. Alright, so we're going to put a little bit of glue on the seat, a little bit on the seat and feet, and put the legs on. Probably don't even need to do the feet, to be honest with you. I mean, they clip right in. So I think I'm just gonna do that. I'm gonna just put a little bit of stuff on the seat and save my glue. Yeah, they're clipping right in, so not a big deal. The majority of the work, I think, is the prep work. You know, it is what it is, and if you've watched this long or you're coming in this late into it, I will tell you that I am continuing to go on camera because, one, again, it's a huge thing for me to get this done, and I'd like for it to go viral, but also I need the practice and talking and, you know, having topics and stuff, since in lieu of that, in lieu of not having the editing skills at the moment and the time to put together, you know, a video like some of these really awesome YouTubers out there do, I'm gonna be, you know, people that are on this journey with me, they can check in whenever and they can see how I'm doing, almost like you got a camera into my home, so to speak, as long as I don't have to use my phone. So, but regardless, I will probably call it here in the next 20 minutes at the 3-hour mark, because I do have some things I need to do. But as you can see, if you've watched this whole stream, you'll see we have come a very long way in such a short time with the methodology that I use here. So what do we got here? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That works, because I want rows of 10. And like I said, my goal was Wednesday of next week to be done with this, putting this army together, not painting it, but putting it together. But I think we're going to be done a heck of a lot sooner. I'm planning on streaming tomorrow evening, but it's gonna be a little bit later, might even be closer to 9 o'clock. If I don't make it, you know, I don't make it, but got some things I have to do late in the evening. Maybe I can get on earlier in the day or something like that. But once these bikes are put together, all we've got left is 5 land speeders and three more bikes from the command squad, if you will, and then that's it, man. Ravenwing is done, sir, done. And you know, it's gonna be a fun army to play with, I think. But as you can see, every step that I'm taking or the things that I'm doing are allowing other things to work for me. So I'm not sitting here wasting time waiting for something to dry. You know, I'm working on a different project at the same time. Now I will be going back to the other bikes at some point. I need to do some counting is what I really need to do on these ammo things, and see if it's worth it to put them on the bikes that, you know, they came with, because the Dark Vengeance box set, they did not come with that, those ammo things, ammo cans and you know, bed rolls or whatever the heck you want to call it. I mean, Space Marines aren't going to sleep out there anyway, but you know, it could be tools, it could be a tool kit, you know, I mean, that would make sense, you know, some kind of spanner wrenches and stuff inside that bag. That would make more sense to me. But as you can see, we're just rolling right along here, and in the meantime, those heads are solidifying on, you know, on the bodies. And I mean, you know, if there's a point where I feel like I need to do a little more on something, you know, like some of this trimming and stuff, I've got time to do that. But I also have, you know, attack bikes that need to be put together as well. Or I'm sorry, the sidecar of the attack bike needs to be put together as well. So, you know, that's something that could be gluing or whatever, you know, as it attaches underneath. And last bike. There we go. 28 bikes, with 4 of those being attack bikes. And so what I'm going to do to give these heads a little more time to dry is I'm going to go ahead and put those plates on. Wait a minute. Folks, it appears that we have 5. I'm wondering, did we have 7 boxes? We may have, ladies and gentlemen, which explains why I have 5 wheels. Okay. So, that being said, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4. No. Something's something's awry. We've only got enough bodies for 4. That sounds about right. So somewhere we had an extra piece, and I'm not sure where it came from. But I have all kinds of crazy pieces. That's the crazy part. Crazy, right? All right, so let's glue this bad boy on. Get it resting. And remember, we want to put this wheel on, okay, so that it's sitting relatively level. I'm gonna go ahead and put this up here for now. Move these attack bikes out of the way that I've already built. Oh, wheel came off. Look out. Okay, let's grab another. Put another shrimp on the barbie. I know. That was kind of lame, but you know, whatever. One thing I didn't do with some of these bikes this time is I didn't glue down that front wheel, so I've got wheels spinning on me. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, if I'm not thinking about it, it wants to slip right out of my hand, if that makes sense. Yep, I knew that was gonna happen. For some reason this bike wants to act as if it's leaning over, and I don't know why. This attack bike, there we go. Yeah, this one's doing it too, like it's leaning in on the sidecar. We can't have that happen. That's not what we want. I want that bike straight up and down. We had a test of endurance just a second ago. See if the heads are on right. A wheel fell off onto the Space Marine's head. Nothing happened to him, so it must be good to go. Sitting here gluing this, sorry, my hands aren't in the camera. And one more. Probably, whoa, I will probably wrap up this stream, because like I said, I need to do some things, and I appreciate everybody sticking with me this far. I'm probably gonna continue to work on this at some point tonight and tomorrow, but next time you see this, I may be done with all of them. It just depends. We'll see what happens. I don't know where to put that one right now. Alright. size here. So again, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for participating. You know, if you like the channel, please share, like, and subscribe. And keep going with us on this journey. We've got a long way to go. I'm probably doing the impossible, you know, that anyone has ever done. I don't know that for a fact. I just think that's what it is. So with that being said, you guys have a great night, and we will see you next time.